So recently, I wanted to find out how much one page of an Action Comics 1 may be worth. As many of you know, Action Comics 1 is the first appearance of Superman. It is the most expensive, most sought after comic book in the world, and the entire comic can go for potentially millions of dollars. So, in doing some research, I came to the conclusion that a page is worth at least several $1,000s. However, in doing my research, I came across a recently sold comic on eBay that claimed to be an Action Comics #1 from 1938 that sold for only $500. Yes, $500 for an Action Comics #1. If somebody actually purchased a real Action Comics #1 from 1938 for $500, that's pretty much like winning the lottery. In taking a look at the pictures of this comic, I was kind of amazed because it really did look like the real thing. There was also a little bit of staple rust, which kind of suggested that it was a bit older. So, was this a comic from 1938? After all, this comic has been reprinted many times, but on pretty much every reprint of this, there are key telltale signs that it is a reprint. Either the comic is clearly marked as being a reprint, or the price is different, or the back cover is different, or there is something very obvious declaring that the copy that you're holding is not actually an Action Comics #1 from 1938. Even more distressing was the fact that the description stated that this was a comic book that was in the seller's father's safe deposit box. He said he didn't know where his father got it and just said that it's in decent shape and to message him if you had any questions. But the description, which seems to mostly be written by AI, suggests that it is a real book from 1938. Even more confusing, if you look at the seller's feedback, you do see that he got positive feedback for selling an Action Comics #1. So what happened here? Was this the real deal? Was this an Action Comics #1 from 1938 that someone inherited from their father, something that had been sitting in a safe deposit box for generations? Could he have listed it for $500 not knowing the real value? And could someone else have scooped it up as soon as they saw it, getting the deal of a lifetime? Well, after doing some online research, I'm fairly confident that that's not the case, and I'm actually pretty sure I know which reprint this is. So what you're about to see here is a famous first edition of Action Comics #1 from 1974. It's much larger than the original, but if you didn't have a sense of scale, you'd kind of have to see it firsthand. So as you can see, there are actually two covers. There is one cover that has the publication information saying that it's from 1974, but inside of that, there is a second cover, and basically, everything inside of the book is a facsimile of the original Action Comics #1. There is actually a third staple as well, again, because this is a larger book. But if that outer cover is removed and you don't have a sense of scale, you may not be able to recognize, at least online, that this is a reprint. But there are actually some telltale signs. If you look at the right-hand side of the comic, it has been cropped. Some things are missing. There's a small line near the headlight that isn't there. There are rocks that are in front of the car that have been removed and cropped out. Also, there are some beads of sweat flying off of the man in the bottom left corner. Also, the bottom of the car has a yellow stripe. It is not solid green. So the cover actually is a little bit different. And as you can see, this comic here very closely matches what was listed online. So it does not appear to be an Action Comics #1 from 1938. If you guys see something like this out there, if you think it's a steal, make sure that you check those key features from the original. Make sure that it has those rocks, has that line near the headlight, has those beads of sweat, that the comic only has 2 staples and not 3. And just make sure you know what you're buying before you spend $500.